Have you ever looked at your life and thought, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, but why do I still feel stuck? Today, I'm sharing the story of one exercise that completely shifted my life, emotionally, mentally, and even financially. If you've ever felt like you're doing all the right things but still spinning in circles, this one's for you. Let's begin. That was me. I was checking every box. Morning routines, vision boards, productivity hacks. I read the books, highlighted the quotes, listened to all the right podcasts while making my protein shakes. And still, something was missing. I didn't know what. I couldn't name it, but I could feel it. In the pit of my stomach, in the quiet moments between the hustle. It was like standing in a room full of noise and still feeling hollow. I wasn't failing exactly. That would have been easier to process. No, I was moving, but in circles, pushing forward with no real traction. And the more I tried to fix it, the worse it got. I kept telling myself I just needed more discipline, more clarity, more effort, but none of it clicked. And then one evening, half burnt out and sitting with a half-read book in my lap, I came across something that sounded too basic to be useful. A short section from Dean Graziosi's Millionaire Success Habits. It was called the 7 Levels Deep Exercise. The idea? Take a goal and ask yourself why it matters. Then take that answer and ask why again. Do this 7 times. Simple. A little ridiculous, honestly. But I was desperate. So I opened my notebook, wrote down my goal, and started asking. I had no clue what I was unlocking. I thought I was digging into my ambition, but what I found had nothing to do with ambition at all. It had everything to do with fear, and that was just the beginning. I figured it couldn't hurt to try, so I sat down, pen in hand. I wrote down my goal at the top of the notebook page, grow my business. Simple enough, right? Clear, direct, exactly the kind of ambition you'd proudly share at a dinner party. Then I asked myself the first why. Why is growing my business important to me? My pen hovered over the paper. The easy answers rushed forward: money, recognition, security. But I knew the first layer would barely scratch the surface, so I wrote honestly, to feel more secure financially. Again, I asked, why is feeling financially secure important? I sighed, thinking back to my childhood. Growing up, we were never comfortable. I saw my parents struggle month after month, bills piling up on our kitchen table like stacks of worry. Money was always something to fear, never something to celebrate. So I wrote, because I grew up watching my parents constantly worry about money. The third why dug deeper. Why does that matter? My breath caught in my throat. The memories came flooding back. The anxious glances between my parents, tense whispers behind closed doors, and feeling helpless to ease their burden. It hurt remembering how powerless that made me feel. I scribbled quickly, because I never want to experience that helplessness again. Fourth why. Why is avoiding that helplessness so important to me? Now my hand shook a little. The exercise was digging deeper than I expected. It wasn't comfortable anymore. Yet I pressed forward, because helplessness made me feel worthless, like I had no control over my life. The fifth why came naturally. Why does feeling in control matter? Without hesitation, my answer flowed. Because I'm in control, then no one can tell me I'm a failure. I stared at those words. Failure. They echoed louder than I expected. Taking a deep breath, I pushed forward to the sixth why. Why does avoiding being called a failure matter so deeply? And now, my heart thudded heavily in my chest. Old wounds resurfaced. The voices of past critics, a teacher who said I'd never amount to anything, friends who smirked at my ambitions. Without realizing it, I had spent years silently proving them wrong. With trembling hands I wrote, because someone once told me I was destined to fail, and deep down I believed them. And there it was, the seventh and final why. Why does proving them wrong matter to me so much? I stopped, staring at the blank space, the room suddenly silent. My pen felt heavy, almost unbearable. Then, with a clarity I didn't know was possible, the truth poured out. Because deep down, I'm terrified they were right. As soon as I wrote that sentence, something inside me shifted. A tension I'd carried for years started to unravel. I wasn't fighting for ambition or success or even money. I was running from fear. But finally facing it was about to change everything. That seventh answer hit hard, and in that moment I realized this wasn't about business anymore. It was about me. The truth stared back at me from the page, bold and unflinching, because deep down, I'm terrified they were right. I sat there in stunned silence, the room heavy with the weight of a truth I'd spent years running from. Until that moment, I had genuinely believed that ambition and growth drove me forward. Yet there it was, clear as day. I was driven not by dreams, but by fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of proving my worst critics right. My mind raced back to the voices that had haunted me since childhood. Teachers who saw my average grades and shook their heads. Relatives whose casual comments cut deeper than they knew. Not everyone's meant to make it big. Friends who laughed when I spoke about my dreams. Their words were careless, fleeting, forgotten by them, yet they embedded deeply into the fabric of my identity. Without realizing it, every step I took was designed to escape that label of failure. I chased achievements not for their own sake, but to silence those lingering whispers of inadequacy. The harder I worked, the louder the whispers seemed to get, pushing me into a relentless spiral of anxiety and exhaustion. I never paused to ask myself what I truly wanted. Instead, I simply asked, what will make them see me as successful? But now, looking at this paper, I realized something crucial. I'd been asking the wrong question my entire life. A wave of sadness washed over me. How much time had I wasted proving people wrong instead of pursuing something that mattered deeply to me? How many opportunities had I chased just because they were impressive on the surface? Yet, mixed with sadness was an unexpected relief, a freedom born from finally understanding myself, clarity, painful but liberating. I felt lighter, like stepping out from the shadow of something oppressive. I took a deep breath and spoke quietly into the silence of the room. I don't need to prove anyone wrong anymore, and for the first time those words felt true. They resonated in my bones. This was my turning point. Instead of running away from something, failure, judgment, inadequacy, I could now choose to move towards something meaningful. Purpose, authenticity, fulfillment. The fear hadn't disappeared entirely, but it no longer controlled me. I had found my roadblock, not a lack of effort or ambition, but a hidden fear driving every decision. Now that I knew what it was, I could finally start doing something about it. And in that moment, I understood the power of clarity. It wasn't about hustling harder, it was about knowing what I was hustling for, and why. Everything was about to change. But even after that breakthrough, one question lingered in my mind. Why did it take me so long to face this? Discovering my hidden fear was like suddenly turning on a bright light in a dark room. At first, it hurt. It was uncomfortable, even painful, to look directly at something I'd spent my entire life trying to avoid. But once my eyes adjusted, I realized how powerful it was simply to see clearly. Yet this moment of clarity brought another question to mind, one that bothered me deeply. Why didn't I do this sooner? The answer was immediate, sharp, and brutally honest because it was emotionally uncomfortable. Because confronting our deepest fears isn't fun. It's raw, messy, and vulnerable. It's easier to stay busy, to distract ourselves with endless tasks, checklists, and goals. It feels productive to hustle, to chase after one achievement after another, even when deep down we know we're just running in circles. I had spent years burying my real fears beneath layers of busyness. I wore my exhaustion like a badge of honor, proudly declaring how hard I worked and how little I rested, as though constant hustle alone was proof of value. I'd built walls of productivity around myself, using tasks and goals to hide from the truth that I wasn't fulfilled, only exhausted. The truth is, our brains instinctively avoid discomfort. Facing emotional pain head-on triggers alarms deep within our survival instincts. Our minds whisper quietly, seductively, "Stay busy, stay distracted. You don't need to look there. You don't need to feel that." And so we run faster, work harder, and sink deeper into perfectionism, hoping to somehow outrun feelings we refuse to confront. But the cost of avoidance is steep. When we never question why we chase what we chase, we risk spending our entire lives building a future we don't truly desire. We pour endless energy into surface-level ambitions, only to wake up one day wondering why none of it feels meaningful. And worse, we blame ourselves for our lack of fulfillment, as though it were a personal flaw, rather than the inevitable result of chasing the wrong goal in the first place. Sitting in that quiet room, staring at my notebook filled with uncomfortable truths, I finally understood why most people never take this step. Because it hurts at first. Because clarity requires courage, not busyness. Because stopping to question ourselves means admitting we might have been wrong all along. Yet that very discomfort was the doorway through which I finally began to heal. It was the entry point to genuine progress. And I realized something profound that day. Busyness isn't progress. Hustle without clarity isn't growth, it's avoidance. If we truly want to transform our lives, we must be willing to pause, take a deep breath, and ask ourselves the uncomfortable question we've spent our lives avoiding. Why am I really doing this? Only then can real change begin. And yet, once I faced it, everything began to shift. My habits, my energy, even my finances. Once I saw clearly, I couldn't unsee it. Once I understood that I'd been driven by fear rather than purpose, something fundamental changed. It felt as though I'd been pushing through heavy fog for years, and now, suddenly, the fog lifted, leaving everything crisp and clear. It's strange. Clarity doesn't announce itself loudly. It comes quietly, subtly rearranging the way you see the world until you realize your entire perspective has shifted. The day after my realization, I woke up lighter, less burdened by the weight of expectations I'd never consciously chosen. The first change was internal. My mind, which had always been crowded with anxieties, doubts, and frantic plans, started to quiet down. Instead of waking up feeling like I was already behind, I woke up feeling present, grounded. I wasn't battling an invisible enemy anymore. I was just there, ready to move forward with intention. With that newfound clarity, decisions became simpler, almost obvious. Opportunities that once seemed irresistible suddenly lost their appeal when I viewed them through the lens of my true purpose. My gut reaction became clearer, sharper. I started saying no confidently, even joyfully, because I finally understood what I was protecting, my emotional core, my real why. When I stopped chasing everything, something extraordinary happened. I began attracting better opportunities. Instead of clients who drained me and tasks that felt hollow, I drew in people who resonated with my deeper purpose. They could sense my authenticity, and something clicked for them as well. My relationships improved, conversations became richer, more meaningful. And yes, my finances improved too, but surprisingly, that didn't matter as much as I'd expected. Money had always been my benchmark for success. Yet now it felt like a natural outcome rather than a frantic chase. Income became a reflection of alignment rather than effort. The less I scrambled, the more effortlessly abundance seemed to flow. But the greatest shift was peace of mind. For the first time, maybe ever, I felt genuine ease. My energy wasn't wasted fighting internal battles of worthiness or fear. Instead, I channeled it into creating value, building something real, something I cared deeply about. I began to understand why successful people often talk about ease and alignment. It wasn't just talk, it was real, tangible, achievable. It hit me profoundly that purpose-driven action was infinitely more powerful than fear-driven hustle. Ambition alone had led me in circles, but clarity of purpose was pulling me forward. Looking back, the irony wasn't lost on me. The simplest of exercises, a few uncomfortable questions on a quiet evening, had done what years of relentless effort couldn't. It had transformed my life from the inside out. And the best part? This clarity wasn't exclusive to me. Anyone willing to confront their deepest truth could experience this kind of transformation. All it took was the courage to look inward and a willingness to listen. I knew I had to share this. And the best part? You can do it too, starting with just 15 minutes. I want you to imagine something clearly for a moment. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and feeling a deep sense of certainty, not because everything in your life is suddenly perfect, but because you know exactly why you're doing what you do. Imagine every decision you make, big or small, feeling aligned and purposeful, grounded in something deeper than fleeting motivation or temporary ambition. That's exactly what I experienced. And here's the simple truth. You can experience it too. Let me walk you through exactly how you can recreate this breakthrough yourself, step by step, in less time than you might spend scrolling social media today. All you need is 15 uninterrupted minutes, a pen, and a blank piece of paper. First, start by writing your number one current goal at the top of the page. It could be anything: growing your business, getting healthier, changing careers, improving relationships, or boosting your income. Don't judge your goal. Just put it down honestly, exactly as it appears in your mind. Once you've written it, pause for a brief moment. Take a breath. Look at your goal and ask yourself quietly, why is this important to me? Write your answer immediately beneath the goal. Then, using that first answer, ask yourself why again. Go deeper this time, peeling back another layer. Your answers may surprise you. They may make you feel uncomfortable. That's okay. Keep going. Do this 7 times, 7 questions, 7 answers. Each answer should reveal something deeper, closer to your true emotional core. You might notice yourself slowing down around the 4th or 5th. Why? That's normal. It's a sign you're nearing something authentic. Allow yourself to feel whatever comes up. If it's difficult or uncomfortable, know that it's supposed to be. You're uncovering your truth, something you've probably avoided looking at for years. When you reach your 7th answer, read it carefully. This answer is your emotional core. It's the driving force behind all your surface-level ambitions, the real engine powering your actions, whether you've recognized it before or not. Now, I want you to circle or underline this 7th answer. Write it down again separately, somewhere you'll see it every single day. On a sticky note attached to your mirror, as a note on your phone, or perhaps on the first page of your daily planner. Every time you face a challenging decision or feel tempted to chase something new, return to this 7th why. Let it guide your actions, your thoughts, your daily choices. This practice changed my life, and I promise you this: if you give yourself the gift of clarity, it'll change yours too. Because once you clearly see the real reason behind your goals, achieving them becomes far simpler, less stressful, and infinitely more rewarding. So take this time, make space for clarity, allow yourself to feel, to question, to rediscover who you really are and what you truly want. 15 minutes, that's all it takes to start changing everything. But uncovering your truth is only the first step. The real transformation comes when you start living by it. After you've uncovered your deepest why, your journey truly begins. Surface-level goals can crumble under pressure. They're fragile, easily influenced by external validation or setbacks. But when your goals are anchored to purpose, they become unshakable. Here's my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, commit to making at least one decision each day based purely on your 7th why. It could be a small action, declining an invitation that doesn't align, taking a step toward a meaningful project, or simply choosing how you spend your free time differently. At the end of each day, briefly journal your experience. Notice the shifts in your energy, your clarity, your overall sense of fulfillment. You'll quickly realize something profound. Clarity beats hustle every single time. Hustling harder when you're lost only exhausts you further. But clarity simplifies everything, guiding you toward actions that truly matter. Don't fear the discomfort of digging deep. Embrace it, because that's where real growth begins. So ask yourself again right now and every day moving forward, why am I really doing this? Keep asking. Stay curious. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. Your purpose is waiting on the other side. If this journey resonates with you, take a moment to reflect, share your 7th why, and invite someone else stuck in surface-level hustle to find their deeper truth too. Your clarity begins now. If this spoke to you, hit that follow button, share it with someone who needs clarity, and I'll see you in the next episode.